Today on the Winning with Shopify podcast, of our most popular 5 episodes, 3 of the 5 were about SEO. That is showing initiative, and we like that a lot. And AI crawlers, we're going to talk about a little bit as well. You've got to have great, unique, and informative content. Link building, brand awareness. Sometimes if I have a whiteboard or a piece of paper in front of me, I start drawing boxes going, that's a web page. And I was drilling a hole, and the wall was a lot stronger than the drill bit I was using, and the drill bit snapped. So my first search online was I need a masonry drill bit near me. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Winning with Shopify podcast. If you're not tuned in before, my name's Nick, been hosting the show for a while, and you would have heard this a million times if you have tuned in before. Massive welcome to all of our new listeners. I can see all of you guys in the statistics. If you're listening on Spotify, drop us a little comment below, give us a little review. We're pushing Spotify at the moment. Video is now available on Spotify as well, so you can either watch or listen to this. If you're listening on Apple, you are still our biggest audience. Hey guys, love you all, and thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you could leave us a little review, that would be absolutely amazing. If you just stumbled across this and you're looking at the topic going, it's an SEO Masterclass, well, I've got a very special guest helping me out today. And if you're watching this video, the reason I've got a very cheeky smile on my face is I am the guest. I'm not going to interview myself as much as we did joke about that with some of my colleagues a minute ago saying, actually, I could just ask myself questions. But if you're not tuned into the show before, or you have tuned in for a while and I've never spoken about my background and what I actually do as much as hosting this and absolute miracle of the editors trying to make me look good. Still struggling, but we're getting there. My background is in SEO and PPC. I've been doing it since 2007, I would have started. It was a very long time ago. And I started out in PPC and then quite quickly got the ropes of SEO around 2009 as well. So I've seen quite a lot happen in the SEO space. My main agency, the other side of this wall, these are real plants. I don't know why, I've been saying it a lot recently. There's real plants behind me. But the other side of this wall, I've got my agency. We do PPC and SEO, and we're called Spec. And the guys are absolutely amazing. So we're going to talk about SEO today, and the reason we're going to talk about it is of our most popular 5 episodes, 3 of the 5 were about SEO. It's clearly a hot topic for you guys. So I wanted to clear up a few things you guys have asked me questions about. I also want to talk about, if you've never done any SEO, how you can get started and what is the sort of blueprint to get cracking with this thing. I've got my iPad in my hand, and I'm going to dive straight in. There's a few bits of context I want to give to this and clear up a couple of bits in the SEO world before we dive into some of the specifics. And I've tried to keep some of these to quite simple things. Whether you've got an enormous Shopify Plus store, it might be quite complicated to do some of these things, but they're still simple to understand, complicated to deploy. If you've got a really small store, you run it yourself, you should be able to work many of these things out. And if you can't, Google it. We actually check it's a spoiler alert, if ever you come to an interview at our agency, if you say, if I didn't know what to do, first of all, I'd Google it. That is showing initiative, and we like that a lot. So feel free to Google any of these points as well if you want to see what other information is available out there. There's 3 pillars, and then there's 3 levels. So I'm just going to explain those quickly because that will hopefully help you guys understand some of these points a bit better. The 3 pillars of SEO, and I'm going to go through, we got 6 on the first one, then 2, then 4. The first bit is technical. So I've got 6 points and 5 subpoints under point number 1 about technical SEO. So some stuff you can do in Shopify specifically on your SEO there. We're going to talk about 2 points. And we're going to talk quite simply about content today because content tends to be the one people spend most of the time on. So we're going to talk about it the least. And then we're going to talk 4 points as well about offsite. So it's technical, content, and offsite are the 3 areas you need to improve in SEO. And my advice is do them in that order as well. Not that you wouldn't continue doing technical, you wouldn't necessarily move on to content, but the more technical stuff you fix that's sort of fundamental, the more Google's going to pick up the content that you are showing. And then also you want to sort your content and your page URLs and things out before you do offsite and start building more links into site or managing, which we're going to talk about. It's not just about building links, it's about managing those links as well. So we're going to talk about those in that order because, again, get your technical sorted. Once you've got your technical sorted and you've got a really good theme, it's running quickly, now you can start applying some content onto that theme. Otherwise, Google and other search crawlers and AI crawlers, we're going to talk about a little bit as well, they're not going to be able to crawl any of that content. And what you don't want to do is build lots of links into the site and then you do your technical and content and change loads of URLs. You have to go back and change all those links, or worst case scenario, you can't change the link and it's now going to somewhere. I'm going to talk about what to do with those things as well. So those are the 3 pillars of SEO we call those. And then there's 3 levels of SEO, I would say. So SEO revolves around keywords. You've probably heard that. If you haven't, then this simple beginner's guide to SEO is probably going to be too advanced for you. Go and Google what keywords are. If you don't mention your keyword on the page, it's the first level. If If you don't mention the keyword on the page, you are almost definitely not going to rank for it. So we've got to mention it on the page. That bit's easy. The second bit, which is a lot harder, is, and this is what I've written for this, you've got to have great, unique, and informative content. That's text, imagery, and video about that keyword. So if you don't have the keyword mentioned on the page, you won't rank. And if you don't have some great, unique, and informative content about that keyword, and again, we're talking about e-commerce. So this is the moment where I always grab something at random. I'm going to use this pen a lot. This is a little spec pen. And if you'd like a pen, let me know. We'll send out some pens for free. It's got spec, PPC and SEO consultancy written on the side of the pen. It's actually in the old branding now. So we're going to need some new pens shortly. I just want to interrupt today's episode to tell you about some big news for Shopify merchants. Yotpo, which you might be using, is sunsetting its email and SMS products. You may have got an email from them, and if you haven't, this might be the first time you're hearing about this. So if you have been using them, then you might be wondering what's next. Well, our sponsor Seguno has you covered. Seguno is the most deeply integrated email marketing platform for Shopify and makes switching really, really simple with hands-on onboarding, migration help, and deliverability expertise. Right now, with code WWS20, you get 20% off your first 3 months with Seguno. So don't let your marketing skip a beat. Switch to Seguno today at seguno.com/winning with Shopify. But this pen, if I don't say we are selling black pens on the page, black pens is my keyword. If we don't say we're selling black pens on the page, we're definitely not going to rank well for black pens. And then to have great, unique, informative content, let's talk about why this pen is the best, specific to our customer base. So if this pen was bought by agencies who want to put their logo on it, we should actually talk about how to make your agency stand out and have more longevity because somebody is using a pen with your agency's name on their desk, rather than what a lot of people do on SEO, which is not bad and you kind of need it, but people go down the route of going, it's silver, it's black, it's got a little thing that clicks, it's got a little squishy ball on the end. You can actually click on touchpads and phones with that little squishy bit, which is quite nice if you want to look like you're actually paying attention on a call and you want to click something on your phone. Use the squishy bit because then you're still holding a pen. Anyway, people are going to be watching that on the podcast now. That's very bad. So you're going to mention the keyword, have great content about the keyword, and then the third bit, which is where off-site really comes into play. So the first 2 points are both technical and content across both of them. It's not technical, then content. It's both of them revolve around technical, both revolve around content. This third one, you want to have the best authority on that keyword, be the most talked about that keyword, etc., etc. And that's where link building, brand awareness, if you sell trainers, for example, being mentioned in the news saying like this is the fastest growing trainer brand, or this is the biggest craze that everybody's buying now. People are buying these trainers. That's all really, really good press and PR about your business. You're going to build some really good authority in the SEO space and on search engines for ranking around the word trainers, and maybe longer keyword. Maybe they're trainers made from plastic bottles. Maybe they're trainers that drain themselves when you come out the sea. Maybe they're trainers that are designed for people with sciatica as a medical condition. So you want to talk about those things, and then suddenly the PR activity starts to write itself. If it's trainers for a specific medical condition, you want to appear in lots of medical press or something in the main press, but linking back to your site and talking specifically about your keywords, your brand, and how amazing you are. Reviews are really good for that. You've got really good Trustpilot review set up. So you've got thousands of people on Trustpilot reviewing you, and Trustpilot's own site then is linking back to your site with all this review content. And then you put the reviews on your own site. You're ticking off site because you're getting the links back. You're ticking content, etc., etc., etc. So let's go into technical then. And these are 6 things. These are really, really common things we see. And as I say, they might not necessarily have simple, quick solutions, but they're important nonetheless. The first one is page speed. And if you've listened to lots of podcasts about SEO, you've probably heard page speed mentioned quite a bit. Shopify is generally slow, and it's not Shopify itself that's slow. It's the way people build their stores. There's 5 things we got here that you need to do. And again, some of these you would have heard a lot. Some of them are probably a little bit less heard of. But when we run our reports, we can see what things are taking a long time to load on each of the pages on your site. The first thing we tend to do is we remove unused apps. So if you have a Shopify app running, it does something in front of your site and you're not actually using it, or it's not actually doing anything, but the code is still loading, that code is taking time to load when a customer is trying to visit that page, and the bit of code it's loading for that app or the resources it's loading for that app is actually doing nothing. So it's pointless to get rid of it, and that will speed up the site. I should have said as well, we do actually see a conversion rate uplift. We see more revenue. We see people buying more when sites load quickly, because people trust a site that loads faster. If it loads slowly, people are going to get really impatient. So if you imagine if your pages take 30 seconds per page to load, and the average sale needs to load, 10, 20 pages, you're looking at 3 to 6 minutes to make a purchase. And if you've got quite a simple product to understand and people go, oh, that looks really nice, I'll just buy one of those, then actually you want to get them through to the cart really quickly. So that page load is going to be killing conversion. So remove unused apps. This is a bit of a trade secret, this next one. I say trade secret, not spoken about much online, but it's really effective. Convert as many apps as you can into code. So one of the apps that we see in a lot of sites, for example, shows you how much more you need to spend to get free delivery. So on the cart, it will have like that little loading bar, and it will say spend $22 more, $22 to get free delivery on your order. And actually, you could write that with a bit of code, but a lot of people will do the lazy thing and just grab an app. And fair enough, if you don't know how to code or you haven't got the budget to pay someone to do some coding, an app makes sense. But actually, coding it yourself will be a lot faster because then it's just loading from the page code rather than when the page loads to load that loading bar or to populate that loading bar by the browser is going to have to go and grab that information from the other server where the app is based. So actually, you want to hard code as many things as possible, and that delivery loading bar is a good example. Image sizes, again, everyone talks about image sizes, and there's a bit of a myth around this that I want to clean up. There's a new image format. There's a few, but the most popular one people are using is called WebP. And a lot of blogs and guides will tell you that Shopify automatically makes a WebP of every image that you upload. And it's not quite true. It does do it for product images, but you can override that and you can change it. Your theme can change it. You can change it in your settings. And any images you've got in your theme won't automatically be WebP. So actually, if you've got something on every product page that says like big background picture of meet the team and then some information about the team, if that meet the team image is really, really big and is in a JPEG format or in a PNG format, it's going to load in that format on the front end. Shopify's not going to automatically change that to WebP. And also, if the image is quite big, WebP or not, it's still going to be a big image. So you want to make sure you reduce image sizes as much as possible. Generally, you want to aim between sort of 50 kilobytes to 120 kilobytes per image, absolute max. Ideally, you want to stay as far away from a meg as possible, which is 1,000 kilobytes. So stay away from that. The other thing to do with images as well is what's called lazy load. So you can load the page in the browser. So you load the page when you load it up on Google Chrome or whatever to see it, but make sure that it only loads the things you can see. And as you scroll down the page, then it loads the images later. Or you can do it after page load, whether people scroll or not, which means the page can load quickly. Customer can start engaging with the page, reading the content, viewing the images, etc. But stuff further down the page is still loading, but it's not loading as part of the page load. The page loads and then it populates bits and pieces later. So that means you basically got a bit of a sequence where someone can engage with the first bit of the page without the rest of it having any issues. The only caveat to this, and again, this is getting a bit more technical, there's a thing called CLS, cumulative layout shift, which is part of Google's page speed scoring. And you don't want the page to change its layout too much. But that means if you're loading an image somewhere, you can tell the page as it loads the main page, make sure you've got a height of 400 pixels and a width of 200 pixels for that image, even if the image itself hasn't populated yet. So the layout of the page won't shift and change, but the image can still load later. And this is where some people say, like, okay, I can pay a developer $2,000 to build me a theme, or I can pay this agency $200,000 to build me a theme. The more you're paying, the more you want things like that to be sorted, which is going to give you a bit of an edge, a bit of an advantage in the SEO world. The fourth thing you need to do, which feeds off that nicely, actually, I forgot this was the next point, but theme code optimization. Some themes are just really badly built. Files are not where they should be, or there's too many files that when the browser loads the page, it has to pull in hundreds, maybe even thousands of different files, when actually you can have one theme file and then one header file, one footer file, one style sheet, and things like that. Whereas a lot of sites, because of the plugins you use and the way Shopify's engine can operate, people have things pulling in from all over the place, which kills your page speed. Final point on page speed, videos have got to be hosted on a CDN. Shopify have a CDN. You don't want, say the video is a gig. You can still have a gig video that people want to watch. It's quite big, but you can have it loading while they're watching it, which is how the YouTube player works, which is why when you load a YouTube video, you don't have to wait for like a whole gig or 2 gig video to download before you can watch it. YouTube just starts streaming that video straight to you whilst it's loading it. So you want to make sure your videos work like that. And you can actually use YouTube and things like that. YouTube is also a search engine. So optimize all your videos on YouTube, embed them on your website. 2 birds, 1 stone. Excellent. The second thing on technical then, and again, we're going to get technical, clues in the title. This one is about what's called vendor pages. So there's a bit of code that any vendor you put in, which is basically the brand. So if you're selling lots of brands or you're selling your brand, you will end up with lots of what are called query pages, which is where it will say something like vendor $Q equals in the code, and then it will have some sort of search query in there. You do not want Google crawling these search queries or even site search on your site. And the reason you don't is because it's an open box. You could put any infinite arrangement of characters in that box, And every time you put a different arrangement of characters, there's now a new page, which is the search results page. So you can use the robots.txt, it's called. And if you use our sponsor, Yoast, who I nearly invited on for this episode, but I thought I'm going to talk more as a consultancy rather than the Yoast tech today. But if you use a tool like Yoast on Shopify, who are one of our sponsors, you get 15% off for life with the code WWS. So make sure you go and use that. But if you use Yoast, you can edit that robots.txt and make changes to it and block it from certain areas of the site. So when Google comes to do a crawl, or a chatbot comes to do a crawl, or Bing comes to do a crawl, or any of the search crawlers, when they crawl, they're just focused on your homepage, your products, your collections, and any information pages as well. You want them focused on that stuff. You do not want Google spending like 80-90% of its time looking at search query pages, because it's not going to rank those. You want to send people into your product pages, your collection pages mostly. That's where they're going to purchase. So these vendor query pages, you definitely want to get rid of them. Number 3, Shopify automatically has what's called an XML sitemap, giant spreadsheet. And on that spreadsheet, it will have a list of all of your pages and some information about how frequently they're updated and that kind of thing. And they'll be in a bit of an order, and they have a priority score, homepage being 1, et cetera, et cetera. So but what you can do is you can create a page, a Shopify page, and then use a bit of code to actually link to all of your collections, all of your pages, and all of your products anyway. By having this sitemap, we call it a HTML sitemap, even though it's not technically HTML, but it's not the XML sitemap that's only available to search engines and Google, and customers are never going to see. This is a page that you can link to in your footer. People can actually see it. And what it means is you're never going to end up with what's called an orphaned page, which is a point. I was going to put it as a separate point, but thought I'd keep it as part of this. But orphan pages, you've got a page on your website and no links to that page. By having this sitemap, you have at least one link to every single page on the entire site, whether it's in the nav, linked to in other places or not. And if you have done really good linking, so you've got a link to every page already, this adds a second link to each page, which from Google's point of view, good indexing, good page, and a good structure, of pages throughout your site, because there's a lot of good links running around to those. Point number 4 was the no orphaned pages, which if you make the HTML sitemap manually, you might still end up with orphaned pages. So a page where you're sitting there going, I get no SEO traffic to this page. Why not? Because you don't link to it. Nobody can actually get to it through your site. So Google assumes not important. So point number 4, by doing the HTML sitemap, and just generally look at all your pages and make sure there are links in the nav or from collection level 1 down to, menswear down to level 2, which is then like the t-shirts, the shorts, the jumpers, the coats, which is all your level 2s. Make sure there's a good structure of when you land on the level 1 collection, there are links to the level 2 collection, links to level 3 collection, which kind of flows into content a bit, but they're links. They're still technical. Number 5 then, canonical tags. We when these first came out, we had every client asking us, what is a canonical tag? And so we had to revise what's the best way to explain a canonical. It's a bit easier these days. We've been working with them for a long time. A canonical is designed to give search engines clarity and search crawlers clarity when you have lots of duplicated pages, but they are the same page as far as search engines concerned. They're the same for a reason. And you think to yourself, no, I'd only ever have one product page for each product, one collection page for each, one collection for each collection. But actually, if you go to page 2 on a collection, you've got the same title tag, same H1, same sort of product showing up, maybe a slightly different variation, but for all intensive purposes, it's the same page as page 1. So you might have 5 pages of products on a single collection. So what we do is we use this thing called a canonical tag, which on page 1 points to itself and says, hey, if you want to land anyone on this collection, land them here on page 1. This is the most important place. So page 1, it links to itself. Pages 2, 3, 4, and 5, or however many pages there are, they should all link back to page 1. So you're saying to search engines, hey, this is the second page, third page, fourth page. These are all the same page, but when it comes to ranking, only ever rank page 1, which is why you're saying to them, there's a reason I have duplicated pages. It's the same on anything that has pagination, we call it. Anything that goes to page 2, page 3, page 4. So it might be your blog posts and collections, any kind of filters of things. It might be multiple pages on those as well. So yeah, make sure you've got your canonical sorted. A lot of themes don't have them, and a lot of custom themes that agencies build that we see don't have them. And if Google thinks there's loads of duplicate content on your website, it's not going to spend its time crawling those all important pages. So you're going to end up with SEO, what we call SEO drag. So actually your SEO is lower than it should be because the search engines are a little bit confused, which is the worst place to be. Great content, great products, happy customers, but the site itself, hard for it to index. That's a problem that we need to make sure we solve. And number 6, the final part on technical, and again, easy for this one to do especially, is header tags. On each page, there is probably your main title on a collection. So if it's on the men's trainers, for example, men's trainers at the top, or whatever your keyword you've put in there is going to be your H1 tag. It's the bit you can actually see is visible on the page. And that needs to be a H1. and you want to make sure you only have one H1, and the one H1 is the main keyword for that page. We used to then break the page down by H2s. So it might then say all of our men's trainer products, or we have 2,000 men's trainers, or 2,000 different men's trainers, make that H2. Google's changed a bit, and there isn't really a hard and fast rule as to whether you should only have one H2 or you should have multiple H2s. We've, in testing, found it more effective in about 80 to 90% of scenarios that one H2 is the best way to go, and then use H3s for either product names or something else throughout the page. What you're trying to do is break the page down into sections. So Google can go, the H1, that's the main keyword for the whole page. The H2 is a variation of that keyword, which then introduces the main chunk of content on this page that I'm going to crawl and customers are going to read, or potential customers are actually going to read on this page. And then you want to use the H3s to break down into that. So if it's a blog post, your H1 would be the name of the blog post, which is like, what's the best deodorant for women, for example, which is an actual blog post we did right recently. So what's the best deodorant for women is the H1 tag on the blog post, because that's the most important one. The H2 then was science-backed women's deodorant study or something similar to that. Again, mentioning women's deodorant and mentioning the best, but also a bit longer and talking a bit more explanative. And then we use H3s to break down to like, why were we doing this is the first H3. Or why were we investigating women's deodorant? Again, mentioning women's deodorant is the keyword. Why are we investigating this? And there's a little bit of text and some images and a video about that. Then there's the next section, which then says, so what were the results of this, or how big was this test and survey? And then the next one, and with more content, and the next one down. So we're using those H3s to break down the page. Sometimes if I have a whiteboard or a piece of paper in front of me, I start drawing boxes going, that's a web page, H1 at the top, which covers the whole page, H2, which introduces the main bulk of content, H3 is to break down the content into 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs or sections or something like that. I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Yoast. They are the go-to tool for getting your content SEO ready and Google loved. From keywords to readability and those all-important meta tags, which I know a lot about, Yoast makes it easy. Right now, our listeners can get 15% off all WordPress purchases if you use the Yoast plugin on WordPress, and also on monthly Shopify plans for your first 6 months. Just use the code WWS15, so WWS15 at checkout at Yoast.com. That's WWS15, 15% off for better visibility, more clicks, and a healthier website. Let Yoast handle the SEO so you can focus on what you do best. So make sure you got your header tags in order. Content. Most of us are probably strongest on content, I would say. It's easy enough to get some keywords and go, the keyword for this product or the keyword for this collection is this. So I'm going to write about that and mention it lots on the page. So I'm going to make a couple of points here about this rather than teaching you guys today how to do it, because on any three of these points or all three, I could do days and days on this. I've got sort of 16, 17 years of SEO experience behind me now. So plenty to talk about, and I talk enough as it is. So the first point I want to make is, you only really want to have one keyword per page, and then the variations of that keyword also on that page. I mentioned on one of my Tuesday tea break talks recently that, which is a little plug, come and join in on Tuesday, have a nice cup of tea, and we have a bit of a laugh. There's a quivia. I came up with a new word, quivia, as well. But I mentioned this on Tuesday, on one of my Tuesdays recently, where Google's done a shift where we used to go, we've got 50 variations of this keyword. So we're going to have the main page with the biggest, either kind of short tail, the 2 or 3 word version of the keyword. And then all the longer versions will kind of fall into like level 2, level 3 under this page as subpages. Google's changed. Google wants you now to include most of those variations on one page, because Google is now looking more towards themes to decide what keyword to show you for, rather than what it used to do, which was the specific keywords. So if you do car scratch repair paint, like one of our clients does, if you offer car scratch repair paint, we've got every brand of car and we've got every model under each of those brands, and we've got every color. So we're talking 250,000 pages across the site. But Google Switch means actually the Audi page or the Ford page or the BMW page, actually those pages we're going to incorporate as much as we can, even if the user journey is still going to sort of choose your model, choose your color, and then order your paint. Google's going to want to send more people just straight into the Audi page or the Ford page. And then you land on Audi and say, right, I've got an Audi A1. Let's go into Audi A1. And then choose your color from there. But Audi or Audi A1 might be the page that it actually goes for, even if you have searched for the color or something more specific. The reason Google's doing this is Google doesn't want to be crawling these massive 250,000 page sites anymore. So we might even get rid of those last stage pages eventually and just incorporate all of that content into one place and just have a drop down for choose your make. We know your make because you're on the Ford page. Choose the model, got Ford Fiesta. Choose the color. It's one of Ford's whites, but I know exactly which white it is. Choose that and then add it to cart. So the user journey is smoother because you're doing it all on one page instead of multiple pages. So that's been a big shift. So You only want to have one main keyword per page, but all sub keywords, you want to start mentioning a few variations on that page and have faith that Google should start to understand those things. Over the summer of 2025, we've seen a massive shift in a lot of people's rankings based on that alone. So I thought that's a good one to mention. Again, a lot of you guys will be writing good content anyway in terms of text content, images, adult tags, title tags, etc., and videos. You can optimize all the videos, especially if you're using YouTube or something. Optimize the video on YouTube and then embed it with some cool content around that. Make it load quickly. You can put some code in as well to tell Google what the video is about. You can even have a transcript available. If someone clicks a button, a transcript then pops out, but don't have it visible before. Again, ticking all the accessibility for anyone that wants to watch that video. The second part on content as well. This one's really important. And this is where I think a lot of brands get it wrong from a strategy and data point of view. A lot of people just go, let's grab that keyword and start optimizing. How do you know if you're going to rank for that keyword? How do you know how difficult it is? How do you know if you're going to get sales out of it? And we've certainly seen plenty of brands that are number one for something amazing. Like we had a client recently who was number one for the word owls, as in the animal, number one for the word owls. And when we looked at it, it was actually an image of an owl, not a number one listing. And if you were searching for owls, you were not going to buy their product. So as much as it was exciting to say it's a 3-letter word and we're top of Google for this and we appear before the first SEO listing in the image section, this is great. And we were getting quite a lot of people clicking on it, coming into the website, reading the blog post. Zero sales. It was the wrong keyword. So my point here really, and this is my second and final point on content, is matching intent. So if someone is looking for a specific size of product, a specific color, a specific material, a specific delivery time, next day delivery, or click and collect, or a lot of people use the phrase near me. So it's like, I want to buy, like I was doing some DIY the other day and I was drilling a hole and the wall was a lot stronger than the drill bit I was using and the drill bit snapped. So my first search online was, I need a masonry drill bit near me. And I managed to click and collect. And by the time I'd got to the store as well, I'd even had a text message, a 5-minute drive, had a text message saying your product's at the till. I'd already paid for it. It's ready to go. Picked it up, got back, drilled the hole. Wife was happy. But the point being is that intent. What is the customer's intent based on keywords? And what you can do is you can actually just Google the keyword and go, right, on Google, when I look for this, am I seeing categories? Am I seeing products? Am I seeing services? Am I seeing locations? And then decide quite quickly, is that the relevant keyword for me or not? Just because they are men's jumpers doesn't mean men's jumpers is the right keyword for me. Someone might be saying, what are some of the latest men's jumper trends? So you might create a collection saying on trend, on trend men's jumpers, or in season, or currently in fashion men's, or whatever the keyword is. It's a useless keyword, but you get the idea of actually the thing that someone's looking for is something that's in trend right now. They might not actually be in the market to buy that product. So you don't do all that hard work, get to the top of Google, get into the top 3. It's a target on Google, get into top 3, and it doesn't work. So just be really, really careful about that, please, guys, because I've seen so many brands waste so much time and energy targeting the wrong thing. You imagine it's like a ship and the destination is pinpointed, thousands of miles away. Imagine you could just get just a few degrees off course, you're not going to reach port. And that port is top 3 on Google in this metaphor. Love a good metaphor. I've got loads of them. Email me if you need some metaphors for stuff. Coming out my ears. Anyway, offsite. I want to talk a lot about offsite because so many people ignore it. Some SEO agencies just do offsite. Some PR agencies and social agencies claim to do offsite, but don't do the rest of SEO, which kind of doesn't make sense to me. And the reason it doesn't make sense is because all the offsite activity needs to point back to content on the site. So if you want to be number one for a keyword, it's got the right intent, and you're making sales from that keyword on PPC, is a good example. Okay, we're making sales on PPC. We want to be on SEO as well. And if you want to know whether you should lower PPC budget as SEO goes up, great idea. No one ever does. If PPC is profitable and you're number one on PPC and you're number one on SEO now, and they're both making profit, why would you turn PPC off? But PPC is a good indicator of this. So with the off-site, you want to make sure you're doing the on-site activity, and the on-site activity should determine what the keyword is that you're then going to find websites, publications, partner companies, sister companies, suppliers, customers, whoever it is that can start talking about you and linking back with good sentiment. I'm going to talk about that as we go through. There are 4 stages to offsite, and a lot of people jump to stage 4 and it's really ineffective. And stage 4 is the most difficult and expensive. And that's where brands go wrong. So if you're a small brand, you've got an opportunity not to get it wrong in the first place. If you're a bigger brand, it might be time to pop the brakes on this and have a real think about how do we do this and how do we do it effectively and how do we get the best result. So number 1, which a lot of brands don't do, and Google says these files have very little weight anymore, but I have so many case studies that say otherwise. And the new spec site, which I don't know if it will be out when this episode comes out or not, but the spec site, we've got a couple of case studies on there talking about this, and it is Google's disavow report. That's DISAVOW, disavow. A disavow report is a small TXT text file, plain black and white text file, and it has a list of websites. And that list of websites is you saying to Google, we have links from these sites, but we do not want to be associated with them. By removing that, we've seen people's what's called domain authority jump, and jump by scored out of 100. I think our record was over 20. And which is, again, it's all kind of, if you've never heard of this stuff before, it's all kind of in context. That's really good. So the difference between, if you're in a small sort of niche industry, if you've got a domain authority of 15 or 20 out of 100, it's probably quite good. And this is one of those situations where your competitors, so the people that are in the top 3 on Google for the keywords you want to target, you only need to run faster than them across all points on average. So you might do really well on domain authority and then not so well on content, but you still do better than them overall. But disavow means that you look at all the links coming into your website using tools like Ahrefs. You can also download a list of them from Google Search Console. SEMrush has this. SE Ranking has a form of this as well. There's loads of ways to see those links. We've even been using AI bots to try and track down links for some of our clients and also give us recommendations on how we can improve the links, which I'll come on to in a minute. But the disavowing, just by getting rid of all the like spammy SEO directory 1, 2, 3, if Google thinks, and this is the crux here, if Google thinks you're doing link building for the sake of SEO and for the sake of link building, they will mark you down. And mark you down means lower your rankings, which means less traffic, less revenue. So you do not want them to find random website directories, world's top billion websites, and we're listed somewhere on there. That is a bad link. If you sell, I don't know, lighting, like I've got in the studio here, you sell these lights, and actually you want to be you do not want to be spoken about with these lights on an SEO directory. It's nothing to do with these things. You don't want to be spoken about on dodgy websites. Websites in other languages sometimes can be a bit of a problem. And there are ways to quantify these sites. So long story short, we get a list of all the ones that are bad. And just because SEMrush or Ahrefs says they are bad, or I think SEMrush calls it toxic, do not just copy that list and disavow it. It'll be wrong. We had quite a big financial institution we were working with lots of sites. And SEMrush said that each of their sites were toxic to one another. And we're like, they're not. It's a group of companies. So don't just take that. You need to digest it and go, no, some of these are really good for us. But yeah, these ones we should definitely get rid of. And also, if you've got loads and loads of bad links that you need to disavow, and they're quite a big percentage of your total backlinks, then actually I'd suggest doing it in little stages. So you can keep adding more and then uploading the file again with more in it and then more in it and then more in it. Watch what happens to your domain authority. Watch what happens to your rankings. Watch what happens to your traffic. Maybe do it every 2 weeks if you're doing it staggered. So disavowing is the first and most important part of this. Second thing, this one is big. We've seen rankings fly by looking at what links a brand has from other sites into their site, good links, that currently land on a 404. If they land on a 404, you're going to get next to zero recognition for them. And what tends to happen is sometimes one of your products gets listed somewhere, so loads of people link to it, but they're linking to that product goes out of stock or you discontinue it. So the product page now is a 404, a dead page, it just doesn't exist. And you've still got all these links going into that. If you redirect them to the main collection, one redirect is fine as far as Google's concerned. I talk a lot about Google here, but this does apply to AI crawlers, to Bing crawler, et cetera, et cetera. So if we add one redirect, which Google says is fine to add one redirect, that authority, that benefit of that link endorsing something can still happen across one redirect. What you don't want is it to hit a redirect that hits a redirect that hits a redirect. It's called a redirect chain or a daisy chain of redirects. You just want it to have one redirect. So this is about you keeping your redirects up to date within the site. Again, by changing this, we had someone go from 6th on Google for 140,000 a month search volume keywords, 140,000 people a month searching this keyword. And we were 6th on Google and we landed up at 2nd overnight and we stayed there, which is amazing. So imagine the traffic that brand started to get, complete game changer. So the second thing is optimize those dead links or links, that land on dead pages. Number 3, optimize the content around existing links that are good. So if you got content, you always want your links to try and go to collections and product. Ideally not products, because products tend to disappear, but collections are fantastic. So you want lots of links going into your collections. So if you're sitting there saying, we sell lots of great water bottles, we want loads of links into the different water bottle collections that we have. Homepage isn't as effective as going into those water bottle collections because your homepage has to be a bit of a broad church of everything on your website. What you can do then is you've got good links, reach out to the sites that have those links, or if it's on your social profiles, your Trustpilot profile, you can edit all those bios and actually change what's written about them and insert a few more keywords. And again, update that link. So if it's going to the homepage, which about 90% of links to all sites generally go to the homepage before we get started. Start changing them, putting them to other pages, because the homepage itself is going to have a nice big keyword, but you've got, 200,000 links. There's going to be a whole range of different topics around those links. You want those 200,000 links going to the most relevant pages for the topic they're reading about, and then reach out to those guys and change this. Point number 3, change the content around the link on the other website. So if it says, like, for example, we work with one company that sells lots of jumpers. So all their links, we want them to say, like, these are organic cotton jumpers, these are vegan jumpers, these jumpers are made from recycled materials. That's all really, really good. And then linking into our jumpers collection. And because they sell men's and women's, we've got a women's jumpers collection and men's jumpers collection. But that link was men's and women's. We've only get one link. We actually sent it to a unisex landing page, or a welcome to our jumper shop. And then you can choose men's or women's from there, or go into other sub collections. So you see, that's an SEO strategy around the links available to get the best possible user journey, to get the best possible ranking on those pages, which also means we actually get traffic and revenue from good links as well. So many people build tons of links and they get nothing back for it. There's no traffic comes in. It's just an SEO exercise. And like I said, if you just build links for Google, terrible way to do it. As soon as Google realizes, they're going to have an absolute field day, as are all the other search engines. And finally, point number 4, and I said do not jump to point number 4. Sort out all your links on points 1 to 3 first. Number 4, create some new links. It is really, really difficult to generate links. You're trying to convince another website to link to your website. So if you've got multiple companies, that's a great place to start. If you've got multiple brands, you can link them all together. That's a good place to start. Talk to all your suppliers and say, could you list us as one of your clients, please? That's another good place to go. Lots of our clients here at Spec ask us to link to them and feature them, and we offer as well, because again, it's another link coming through. And because of all the podcasting stuff we do, the Spec website and the Winning with Shopify websites, we've got some good domain authority on them now. We're getting some good links through. We've also got page speed on the Spec website in the 90s on mobile, which is unheard of, going back to my first point. And there's no aim. It's just faster than everybody else's before everybody emails me and asks. But off-site, generating links is really, really difficult. A couple of quick tactics to do it. Number 1 is go and look at competitors' site links. You can run them through the same tools and just go, what links have these guys got? And then go through them and go, these are really good quality. They've got high domain authority. The competition's strong. They post content regularly. And actually, we could reach out to them and say, hey, you've got an article about one of our competitors, but actually we've got this, this, and this. It's better than them. Do you want to write an article about us? And see what they say. So you can do stuff like that. The second thing you do with links as well is just anything you can control, which goes from Google Maps through to things like Yell, if you're in the UK. Again, any resellers, ask anyone that's reselling your products to link back to you to say, this is one of our stockists, or we're one of their stockists who stock their products, that kind of thing. User-generated content's super good. So any social channels, review platforms, all that kind of stuff as well. So technical, content, offsite. Go make it happen, guys. If you want any help with SEO, of course, reach out to us. We're always happy to help. We offer a free audit to people as well. And I was going to offer at the end of this as well. We did ask people to send their sites in for free audits. We've got through about half of them. It's back in May, and I'm recording this in September. So we were inundated, and we are working our way through them. So sorry, guys, it's taking ages. A lot of them we decided not to publish because we found so much stuff that they didn't want us to publish them. But that's what we do. We find things that can be improved. So I am looking for someone, if you want to come on for a future episode and do a live SEO audit with me of your website. You don't have to say yes. We might not do it. We might have a few people interested and decide not to. But if you are interested in that, reach out. We'll have a quick chat and see if that's something we can do. But you'll get some free consultancy, and we would love to post it as one of our episodes as well. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And join me again on Tuesday for Tuesday Tea Break Talks. Take care, guys. Speak soon. Sales tax is overwhelming. Never mind the stress that comes with a provider that's overpriced, unreliable, or leaves you waiting days to get a reply. TaxCloud is here to tell you there's a better way. They're not just a tool, they're a trusted filing partner for growing Shopify brands. They will work directly with the states on your behalf to handle registrations, filings, and ongoing compliance, so you can stay focused on growing your business. Plus, with a 4.9 star rating on the Shopify App Store, merchants trust TaxCloud to get it right, and you can too. Go ahead and check them out at taxcloud.com/winning. This is exclusive for the Winning with Shopify podcast listeners, and you will get a free migration onboarding service when you decide to make the switch. So that's taxcloud.com/winning.